What's up everyone, my name is Alpha and today we're back for another Pokemon Challenge video. Today we're on Pokemon Ultra Sun and today's challenge we can beat Pokemon Ultra Sun Hardcore Nuzlocke using only version exclusive shiny Pokemon. So we're back, I got peer pressure doing some more Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon videos. But I'm actually excited to do it because this time around it's not a randomizer and extremely difficult. So we're actually doing it on a vanilla game, so we don't have to scale up the trainers to infinitely high levels. But it's still gonna be pretty difficult. If you guys don't know what a Hardcore Nuzlocke is though, the rules are on screen right now. So essentially we can only catch one Pokemon per route, and in this situation, first Pokemon that's a version exclusive. So most of the time there are actually in separate routes, so they don't overlap too often, so we should be fine on that route. As well, on top of that, they must be shiny for us to capture it, so it's the first shiny Pokemon in each route. On top of that, there's gonna be a death counter, so if my Pokemon ever faints, they're just gonna be dead and I can't use them ever again. There's only eight Pokemon that you can use in total. If we get too many deaths early on, it's kind of game over. We have to reset. Also, on top of that, there's gonna be a level cap. The level cap's kind of weird for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, but we're still gonna stick with it. It's Kahunas into Elite Fours. So each Kahuna is gonna be the level cap. Additional rules will be I can't use items inside of battle. You can use hell items. You have to play in set mode, all the juicy stuff. And yeah, you're the shiny hunters. Not great. On screen right now are all the versions. You might see a particular Pokemon called Basculin. We'll get to that in a little bit, but those are the rules for this challenge video. On top of that, each of my Pokemon will be nicknamed after you guys in the comments, so thanks so much for leaving a nickname in my previous challenge video. If you guys want to be nicknamed after your future Pokemon, just drop in the comments and hopefully I'll pick yours. And while you're down there, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. Anyways, let's get into the challenge video itself. So to begin off, we're gonna go into the first part of the game, which we can't actually play. There's no version exclusive Pokemon until we actually get past the first trial in the game, so we have to play a significantly a lot amount of Pokemon. But don't worry, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are really long games anyways, so you don't have to worry about that. As we're gonna move on into Route 3, which is gonna be the first route in which we're able to catch our first version exclusive Pokemon. The first Pokemon we have access to, since we're playing on Ultra Sun, will be a Rufflet. We can start shiny hunting out here. I find the best method is just to leave the area and come back in the counterpart here, and most of the time it's gonna be a Rufflet, as we're eventually gonna find ourselves a shiny Rufflet out here. It's kind of cute, but it evolves at level 54, so we have to take care of it into then. We catch ourselves a Rufflet and add it to our team, as then we're gonna move out into melee metals, and yeah, it's just swarming with them at this point. So we're gonna move out, start shiny hunting out here for our next Pokemon, which is gonna be Connie. In I believe Ultra Moon is gonna be Petalo. So eventually we find ourselves a shiny Connie. We're gonna add it to our team. And then from there, once we catch Colony, we're gonna move out and face off against the first Kahuna in the game. We're gonna face off against Hala. Hala's gonna be the fighting type Kahuna, and he's pretty much the same as the base games, Sun and Moon. We're gonna start the battle off against him using my Connolly, which actually better that he doesn't have his Mankey here, as we're able to go for Stun Spores against the Machop and then Leech Seed into him and then start growing in front of the Machop as get healed up with Leech Seed, as eventually we're able to Mega Drain and knock out the Machop. And also his next one will be a Makuhita, which gets a little annoying with Sand Attack. I'm able to chip away at him, and I'm able to still get some growths off against him and eventually knock him out with a Mega Drain. But he did kind of scare me with the Sand Attack. But lucky enough, this Crab Brawler does not have any ice moves, so we're able to Mega Drain twice into him and avoid a Z move entirely, as we're able to beat down Hala and clear through the first Kahuna in the game. So from there, we're gonna move on and start Mantine Surfing, which I'm terrible at, especially since I'm on 300 speed. So it's a really fast portion of the game, speed up portion of the game. Lucky enough, you don't have to be good enough to get through the Mantine Surfing, as we head into Panorla Ranch. And we can face off against a rival out here. We clear through a rival pretty easily and then move out into the water trial in the game. It's actually a Araquanid instead of Wishy-Washy here, so I gotta be very careful. This Pokemon is kind of strong, so I gotta be very careful as I Leech Seed and Stun Spore into him. So I get a lot of recovery off against the Dewpider and Araquanid. Kind of getting close. I also get a really stupid play here. I knock out the Dewpider and then it spawns in a second Pokemon. I'm like, what am I doing? So I gotta go out to my Rufflet, and Rufflet's able to knock out the Araquanid and also the Masquerain for us, but things could have gotten really bad for us. From there, we can move out. We can start shiny hunting out here, and technically, this is a version exclusive. We put on CRP. There is actually a version exclusive out here. Basculin comes in red stripes and blue stripes. Ultra Sun, you could get red stripes, and Ultra Moon, you could get blue stripes. So technically, it's version exclusive. So we're gonna count it. We're gonna get ourselves a shiny Basculin out here after you're fishing for a little bit and catch it, add to our team. Is this my way to circumvent and get through the fire trial? a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, this has actually made the fire trial so much easier. As you see, we also get the Mystic Water right before here, so we're able to one-shot both the Salazzle and also Marowak, so we're able to clear through the fire trial pretty easily. As from there, we're gonna move out into the grass trial, which I thought was gonna be a lot harder, because normally I do struggle with the grass trial, but I use my Rufflet against the Lurantis. I get a Home Claws off against him, and then the Lurantis is kind of stuck here, so Lurantis goes for a Synthesis as I go for an Air Lace and knock him out. Beat down the Kecleon as I go out to my Bastion to knock out the Kecleon, and we're able to clear through him pretty easily. From there, we're also going to go shiny hunting out here, and this is probably like one of the 2 hardest shiny hunts out here. I felt like I couldn't find a Passimian for so long, and then finally, after going through the entire shiny decks apparently, I finally found myself a shiny Passimian, which is kind of cute. I like the little ball it has. I think it's a coconut or a melon. I think it's a melon. But anyways, so annoying. I found so many different shiny Pokemon until I find myself a Passimian, and eventually I catch the Passimian, added to my team, which is a pretty nice encounter. We also got a pretty easier shiny hunt out here. Now technically you can get a bunch of fossil Pokemon, as many as you want technically, but I decided to get the first fossil Pokemon, which is exclusive, which, you know what, I was thinking like, you know what, just do a random, just put all of them in there, but I actually thought against it. I'm like, you know what, I want a Tyrant out of everything, so I'm just gonna shiny hunt for Tyrant only. So eventually I get myself a shiny Tyrant, and yeah, I don't get any of the other fossils. So Tyrant's a pretty good member on my team anyway, so I'm not really upset about not getting anyone else. From there, we can move on and face off against Olivia. Olivia's gonna be the second Kahuna in the game. We're gonna start the battle off against her using my Connie against her Anorith. It's alright, I don't know why, but I stun Spore into him as I just get a Leech Seed off, and then from there, it's gonna almost kill me with Metal Claw, so I gotta switch out into my Passimian, start working up against him, and eventually I'm able to get a bunch of workups and knock out the Anorith. And then from there, her next Pokemon will be a Leap. Her team is actually really bad compared to Sun and Moon. I'm going to knock out the Leap in one shot, and her final Pokemon will be a Midnight Lycanroc, which we one shot in. Yeah, we just one-shot it. So we beat down Olivia. 2 Kahunas, pretty easy so far. As we move on and face off against the hardest trial in Ultra Sun and Moon, which was going to be the Electric trial, which also has the Togedemaru, which is Steel type. So it's going to be really difficult. Ground moves are more effective, but also all the ground moves I have is on Tyrant and Passimian, so it's going to be really difficult. I went out to my Bastion to just do some chip damage off against him, but it didn't work out too well for me. I got to my Passimian. I do get a bulk up off against the Togedemaru, but unfortunately it bounced and paralyzed me. Get really difficult out here, but lucky enough, I'm able to actually knock out the Togedemaru, as I'm able to barely survive a bounce at this HP, which is crazy enough. What's the power on this? Also doesn't have Iron Barbs, as I'm able to break and crit it and knock out the Togedemaru, as we're getting very lucky with that. We're able to beat down the Electric trial, but I don't think I could replicate that. As from there, we're going to evolve my Tyrant into a Tyrantrum, and also start shiny hunting in Route 12, which is going to be our next area of our next version exclusives, which is going to be Houndoom. And Houndoom's the only encounter in here that we want. We're going to get ourselves a shiny Houndoom added to my team, which is really nice. And then from there, we can move out, get ourselves a Sunstone, evolve my Connie into Whimsicott. So everyone wants to evolve besides my Rufflet, by the way. And then we're going to move on and face off against the Mimikyu Totem. I'm going to start the battle off against him using my Passimian, just to go for Bodos to weaken the speed, and also break is the disguise. I know I can survive a play rough, which is really nice. From there, I'm not too sure why I sacked my Passimian. I went for another Bodos, but I think I was too scared to switch out to anyone else, because it would have just like combo into him. So I went to my Tyrantrum next, and I guess it worked out. Tyrantrum was able to Rock Slide, avoid the play rough, lucky enough, but I knocked out the Bayonet, so it's forced to spawn in a second Pokemon. So I'm able to go for a Rock Slide once again. I flinched the Mimikyu in this turn. So from there, unfortunately, I get confused. So that could have been really bad for me. I was like, ooh, do I want to stay in? I don't really want to stay in against this Mimikyu. So I gotta switch out to my Baskin. I'm gonna take a play rough and also dodge a Spite, and from there I can knock out the Mimikyu at least, and then knock out the Jellicent in the next turn. So look, I played it safe. I'll lose one Pokemon, but that's fine, as the Mimikyu Totem is normally too difficult anyways. As from there, we're gonna face off against Guzma in Po Town, clear him down, and then face off against Gladion as well. And then we can move out, evolve my Vulpix into a Ninetales, and then face off against Nanu. And Nanu's giving me the Dark type Kahuna and also the third Kahuna in the game. So we're gonna start the battle off against him using my Ninetales. And honestly, I thought this would do more damage, as I go for a Dazzling Gleam against the Sableye. I thought I was gonna one-shot him. So I take a Power Gem after that, and unfortunately, it did a lot of damage. So I'm able to Ice Beam and then Dazzling Gleam once again to knock out the Sableye. As his next one will be a Persian, which I go for a Dazzling Gleam once again. He goes for a Fake Out, and I'm like, I really hope I survive a Power Gem. And lucky enough, I do, as I'm able to one-shot it with Dazzling Gleam, as we're able to knock out the Persian, and his final Pokemon will be a Krokorok, which I know at speed, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I can knock out with Ice Beam. Like, it's kind of risky on my low HP, but I'm pretty sure I can knock him out, as we one-shot him pretty easily, as we beat down Nanu, the third Kahuna of the game. And we can move on into the Aether Foundation, which we cleared through Guzma, and I also face off against Lucamine, which is pretty easy. Now we have access into the Pony Island, which Now we gotta start shiny hunting once again, and we have to go to the coastal area of the Pony Island and then start shiny hunting for these special like run-in encounters. So in these encounters, you can actually find yourselves a shiny Clawitzer. So yeah, we're gonna do it for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, it gets really annoying, but eventually we get ourselves a shiny Lobster added to our team, which is really nice. And also finally evolve my Rufflet into a Braviary, which is finally. From there, we're gonna face off against the second to final trial in the game. We're face off against the Totem Como, which can start the battle off against him using my Tyrantrum. We're gonna lower the speed of him by going for Bodos and then taking Dragon Claw, which kind of sucks. From there, I'm gonna switch out into my Ninetales, expecting or forcing him to use some more Dragon moves, so I could just avoid any Dragon move. Go out for my Dazzling Gleam, which I know it has a Roselli Berry, so it's actually gonna tank it pretty easily. So not the greatest. So from there, you can go for a Poison Jab. Lucky enough, I survived it. And from there, I could go out into my Houndoom to survive any move from him, just to force him to use a fighting move as I go out to my Whimsicott is able to survive a Drain Punch, which kind of sucks overall because that means I gotta go for a Move Blast and knock out the Como, and that means the Noivern's gonna knock me out, which sucks. So I'm able to unfortunately lose my Whimsicott, but it died for a good cause as we're able to knock out the Como, and then my Braviary would knock out the Noivern for us as we beat down the Como Totem. We're going to do some prep work and get ourselves the Focus Sash from this trainer on Pony Island, and we're also going to equip ourselves with Clawitzer. So from there, we're going to put the Focus Sash on our Tyrantrum as we face off against Ultra Necrozma. I'm going to start the battle off against Ultra Necrozma using my Houndoom, and the Houndoom's going to go for a Foul Play, while I also have a Charty Berry to weaken the Rock type move, and it didn't really weaken it, but my Houndoom survives, as then I go out into my Clawitzer just to sack it. I know I just got it, but I needed a sack. Clawitzer unfortunately gets burned up by Photon Geyser, and then I go out to my Tyrantrum to survive a Dragon Pulse, and then from there I can Dragon Claw and knock out the Ultra Necrozma. Unfortunately, I lose a Pokemon in the process, and yeah, that sucks, but you know what, it had to be done. From there, we can move on, and then we can start shiny hunting in the desert. We don't want Crocoroks, which actually we do want Crocoroks, but we can't use them on our team. We found so many shiny Crocoroks that I was actually going insane. I was like, what? Give me something that's not a shiny Croc. Give me the shiny Golett. And unfortunately, barely any Golett spawn, honestly. So we have to actually, unfortunately, I'm not proud of it. We have to cheat. We have to put on shiny mode, turn on shiny mode, because this was, honestly, it was impossible. I couldn't, nothing was happening. We had to turn on shiny mode, and we had to get ourselves a shiny Golett. You know, you could avoid it, but honestly, I don't know if anyone's ever done this stupid encounter. It's like a 10% to get Golett in the first place, and on top of that, you have to shiny hunt for it. So, and I'm pretty sure if you shiny before it, it breaks the chain, so you're not really chaining with it, so it kind of sucks. But we get ourselves a Golett by cheating and evolve it into a Golurk, and from there we can move on and start our next final trial in the game. We're gonna do the Minas trial, which isn't too difficult. We just get a bunch of petals, and from there we can face off against the Totem Rabombi, which we start off with my Tyrantrum. Because it's Stone Edge, I thought I was gonna actually one-shot it. Doesn't actually do it. So from there I go out into my Basculin, and unfortunately Dazzling Gleam with a Helping Hand and a crit would knock out my Basculin. I'm like, oh, well, that definitely happened. So I was hoping to get Alkajet off against him, so it didn't work out. I go out to my Braviary, which barely takes a Dazzling Gleam and Helping Hand from it. So I'm going to Air Lace and knock out the Rabombi. As from there, we had to beat down the Rabombi and Superpower to knock out the Blissey, as we had to clear through the Totem Rabombi. But unfortunately, we lose another Pokemon, so RIP Basculin. That honestly sucks. As from there, we're going to do some more prepping. So firstly, we had to go back and get ourselves the Roost TM, and also go out and get ourselves the Bogup TM, which is from these two NPCs. And then from there, we're going to move on and face off against the final grand trial in the game. We're face off against the final Kahuna, which is going to be Hapu. Hapu's the ground type Kahuna in the game, so we're going to start the battle off against her using my Ninetales. We actually went for a Blizzard against the Golurk and freeze it, but unfortunately it gets dawed out in the first turn and Stealth Rocks anyway, so I'm like, what was the point of all that? Anyways, I go for an Ice Beam against him, so eventually I'm able to knock out the Golurk, as so next Pokemon will be a Mudsdale. I go out to my Braviary, which will take a Heavy Slam, not too nicely, but I go out for a Roost, and lucky enough it goes for Payback now. I could go for a Bulk Up, survive a Heavy Slam now, and I keep going for Bulk Ups in between some turns. Eventually get my HP back up all the way, as I also get a bunch of Bulk Ups, and eventually I'm able to tank any move from the Mudsdale, and from there I could one-shot the Mudsdale with an Air Lace. Her next Pokemon after that will be a Gastrodon, which I Crush Claws and one-shot, and final Pokemon will be a Flygon, which actually use special moves, which I survive a Dragon Breath luckily with a crit, Air Lace to knock him out, as we're to beat down Hapu. And from there, we can move out into Victory Road and then get ourselves into the summit of the Elite Four, which we entered, and our team is looking pretty beat up, but we still have 5 members. I think we can make it through. So from there, we can move out and face off against the Elite Four themselves. The first Elite Four member we're going to face off against is going to be Mulaney. Mulaney is going to be the Steel type Elite Four member in the game. We're gonna start the battle off against him using my Houndoom, which we've been saving up pretty well. We're able to flamethrower into his Klefki, which actually doesn't kill him, so that kind of sucks. He's gonna heal up, but lucky enough, a flamethrower once again would knock him out, so I guess it's just roll based. We're able to knock out the Klefki, and from there, his next opponent will be a Metagross, which we flamethrower once again. He's gonna survive and hammer arm into me, which luckily enough I survive, and I'm able to flamethrower once again. He's gonna heal up and waste another potion, and eventually I'm able to knock out the Metagross, as his next opponent will be a Dugtrio, which I know this thing's gonna outspeed. So I went out into my Braviary, which will unfortunately take a Corkscrew Crash, and I get to roost off with my berry. So actually I get all the way to my full HP, so I wasted the Z move, and then from there I go for a U-turn into my Golurk. Golurk's able to survive any moves from the Dugtrio, and from there I'm able to Earthquake and knock out the Dugtrio for us. As the next opponent after that will be a Bisharp. I could have stayed in here, but I was kind of risking it if I did, so I switched out into my Houndoom. Houndoom's able to take a Night Slash decently well, and luckily enough it doesn't have Sucker Punch, as I'm able to flamethrower and knock out the Bisharp. As the next opponent and his final opponent will be a Magnezone, which unfortunately I don't have Dark Pulse, or I would have went for the flinch, but I at least want to break it sturdy as I go for a flamethrower to knock him down to low HP. Magnezone's unfortunately getting knocked out my Houndoom as I go out into my Golurk. Golurk's able to go for an Earthquake and knock out the Magnezone for us. As from there we're to beat down Mulaney, and we can move on and face off against Kahili. Kinda out of order, but we're gonna face off against Kahili next. We're gonna start the battle off against her using my Tyrantrum against her own Braviary, which can go for Brave Birds against me as I go for Rock Polish. And from there I'm going to go for a Rock Slide to knock him out, just knock out the Braviary, which the next one will be a Hawlucha, which I go out to my Ninetales. I'm able to dodge the Flying Press luckily, and then go out and it's going to Poison Jab me as I go for an Ice Beam and knock him out in one shot. As her next opponent will be a Mandibuzz, which I stayed in for some reason, but I stayed in. And I'm able to survive a Brave Bird and Ice Beam to two-shot the Mandibuzz, which is really nice. I actually went for a risky play. I went for Nasty Plot and then Ice Beam to knock out the Mandibuzz. From there, her next opponent will be a Toucannon. I go for an Ice Beam to one-shot it. And her final opponent will be an Oricorio, which I probably could have one-shot anyways, but I was kind of scared. I don't want to lose my Ninetales, so I decided to switch out to my Golurk. And unfortunately, Golurk does not do enough damage and goes down to low HP. I go out into my Braviary next, which will unfortunately get flinched down by the Oricorio and confused. So I gotta switch out into my Tyrantrum. And just lucky enough, I stopped using Air Slash and went for Feather Dance, and I'm able to knock him out with a Rock Slide. So we're able to beat down Kahili eventually, and then from there we can move out and face off against Olivia next. Olivia's giving me the Rock Slide Elite Four member in the game, so we're gonna start the battle off against her using my Tyrantrum against her model, which is really nice. So I one-shot her with Rock Slide, which is kind of huge. Her next opponent will be a Probopass, which I went for a Rock Slide and I hope for a flinch, and it did work out for us. So I'm able to flinch him down and then Earthquake to knock him out. So we're able to bypass this sturdy, and then from there her next one will be a Gigalith, which I'm like, ooh, this thing's getting me pretty strong. I said, let's see how much the damage is. Earthquake did a lot of damage, I'm not gonna lie, but I take a Bodos from it, so I'm like, ooh, this thing's gonna be a little annoying. I'm able to go out to my Braviary, which I'm able to avoid Bodos. I then double into my Golurk, which will take a Stone Edge, and then from there I can Earthquake with my Golurk, which is same type of attack bonus. It should kill him, which it does. I'm able to knock out the Gigalith, as her next opponent will be a Cradily. From there, I'm going to switch out to my Braviary next, which gets some nice bulk ups off against the Cradily. And from there, I can get a bunch of bulk ups off against him, and eventually I could just one-shot him with an Aerial Ace, which is really nice. I get my HP back up with Roost, and then from there, I one-shot the Cradily, and then her final opponent will be a Lycanroc, which doesn't do a lot of damage to me. Actually went for counter against me, which is kind of scary if I actually didn't one-shot it, which would be impossible, but it would have been funny. I end up knocking out the Lycanroc as well, and we end up beating down Olivia, and now we can move on into the final Leaf Form member in the game. We're face off against Accelera. Accelera is going to start the battle off against us using a Bayonet. I go out to my Tyrantrum, which honestly has been super clutch for us, as we're to go for a Rock Polish, and then from there, I can go for Dragon Claws against the Bayonet to two-shot it. As from there, her next opponent will be a Frostlass, which is perfect. I go for a Rock Slide to outspeed him with the Rock Polish, Rock Slide to knock him out. As her next opponent will be a Palossand. I then go out to my Braviary next, which will start bulking up. I realized that it can't touch me at all. It has ghost moves, Giga Drain, it has ground moves. That's normal and flying types, so Braviary will actually completely wall him, as the only move he really has is Iron Defense and also Giga Drain. So as long as I outstall the Giga Drains, I'm able to be fine, as eventually I get all the bulk ups I want, and then eventually I'm just gonna knock out the Palossand for us, and we're able to knock out the Palossand, even though it takes a little bit because of all the Iron Defense. We're able to knock out the Palossand pretty comfortably, and then knock out the Delmice as well. And her final opponent will be a Drifloon, which I want to be very careful. I want to Roost up first and then go for an Aerial Ace to knock out, because the Aftermath couldn't really knock me out. So I ended up knocking out the Drifloon as we beat down Accelera, and now we can move on into the final fight in the game. We're going to face out against Hala next. Hal's gonna be a little easier than Professor Kukui. So we're gonna start the battle off against Hal using my Tyrantrum against his Alolan Raichu, which this thing does have Focus Blast, which I should have been careful about. But I went for Rock Punch like a greedy man I am. I go for Rock Punch. I can outspeed him now. Earthquake to knock out the Raichu, which is huge. From there, his next Pokemon will be a Tauros, which could have been really smart again. So he's getting Earthquake into me. I Rock Slide looking for a flinch. Go out to my Bravery next, and that is the end of the fight, essentially. I take a Double Edge. I don't take it too well. I bulk up in front of him. I take another Double Edge, and then from there, I know he's going to try to heal up at least. So I'm going to go for a bulk up once again, and then heal up in front of him after that. So at this point, I'm at +3. I'm just going to be very careful with this because he does have scarier Pokemons in the back. So I don't also want to get crit, so I'm going for Air Lace. It doesn't knock him out, so it's kind of annoying. So he went for Iron Head and flinched me. I got to go for a Roost again. Double Edge, he almost trapped me with a Double Edge. So that could have got really risky, as Tauros can knock himself out as I get a Roost off. His next one will be a Crabominable, which I'm pretty certain I could survive any hits, and also maybe to Air Lace and knock him out, as his next one will be a Flareon. I Rock Slide to knock out the Flareon, as his next one will be a Primarina, which I go for Air Lace against him. Which I don't actually, I knew it was not gonna kill, but I was hoping Moonblast, I could survive a Moonblast, which I do. I'm going to knock him out with a following Air Lace as we knock out the Primarina. As Hal's final Pokemon will be a Northern, which I'm like, well, this thing's definitely gonna kill me. So I gotta switch out to my Ninetales. Okay, no, I do have a Ninetales in the back to Ice Beam and knock out the Northern, as we end up beating down Hal. And we only lose one Pokemon during our entire Elite Four run. So we lose Houndoom. Thinking back to it, maybe in a perfect encounter, I could have survived with my Houndoom too. But honestly, I'm not too mad. I went through Pokemon Ultra Sun using only version exclusive Pokemon. We did have 5 deaths though, kind of pushing it. But honestly, we did pretty good. It's one of the harder games to the hardcore Nuzlocke, honestly. And even with a lot of luck, we still came out of it with 5 deaths. So it got pretty bad. But anyways, that'll be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you guys can, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. Anyways, my name has been Alpha, and I hope you guys all have a great day, and I'm out. Peace.